I'm in Visual Studio here. Let's have a look at an example of extension. So in Dynamics 365, the concept of doing development, we should use extension because this makes it easier to maintain, or at least apply patches underneath the changes that you're applying. So let's have a look at doing the extension to add a new table field. So I've created a model, I've created a new project. This model is in its own package because an extension you can deploy as its own package independent of the underlying code or the related code. So I'm going to open up the Application Explorer and I'm going to go and find my table that I want to extend. So in this particular case, I want to locate the customer table, for example, as a simple example. So this is our customer table, and if I find this, we can right click on it and we get the option to create an extension. Now, because I've already created the project, I'm not choosing the project to create extension in a new project because otherwise a new project will be created. So in this particular case, I'm going to create an extension in the same project that I'm already at. Now, we do have the option to create customize, but if I'm customizing something, it needs to be done. This is essentially the way development has been done in terms of overlayering in AX for a long time. Extensions is obviously the new concept in Dynamics 365. So in this case, let's create an extension, and that's going to add our table to our project. So what do we do with it from here? So if I double click on it, then that's going to open it up in the viewer or the control, so I can see it, and then I can see my traditional elements. So I can see obviously fields here, but here is the object that I'm modifying. So if I look at fields, I can see the fields in the system. Now, let's say, for example, we're going to add another description for whatever modification that we're going to do. So here I can look through the data types. For example, I can go and find my extended data types that I might want to use. So this is refreshing. So let's find, for example, description. So I might want to put some extra text on the customer table. So if I now drag this and drop this onto my fields as the data type, now I might have a new description. So I'm going to call it credit description, for example. Okay, so that's essentially the field added. Now we can obviously do new things to the field in terms of we could put it in field groups. So if I have a field, I can do that, for example. So you'll see that we have our credit description field. So now I can put it in that group. Alright, so if we find the group, and in this particular case let's put it in credit, I can add a new field here, and then I can go to the data field and look for my new field. So the list will pop up and we can find the field. So we should see credit description, for example. So this is our new field. Alright, so now we've added it to the group. So we can hit save, for example. So in this particular case, we've modified the metadata. Obviously, we've added the new field here into the as an extension. Now I haven't built or I haven't synchronized. We'll see this now. This is a developer box. So I have access to SQL. So if I go over to the tables, let's look for the customer table. Alright, so if we look into the cust table and look at the columns, might be a little bit hard to see, but we won't see the credit description in there because it's not added in there yet. It hasn't synchronized. So what we can do is build our project. So this is going to compile the extension so that we've got an extension. So I'll pause the video while it compiles. Alright, so that's compiled. Now what I can also do is synchronize. So you'll see if I right click on the solution, I don't see a synchronize option, but if I right click on the project, then I'll see the option to synchronize with the database. So I can do a synchronize there. So I'll pause the video while it synchronizes. Now that the synchronize is done, if we go to the database, I'm just going to refresh here, and if we have a look at the tables, so let's find Livio cust table. Now because this field has just been added, might not be in alphabetical order, so I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom here. Alright, so there's our credit description in the table. So I can see it in SQL, therefore it's in the system and synchronized. Now we can have a look at the table browser, for example. So if I go and do a table browser, we'll see that the system will render the field. Obviously we've seen that in the database, so we can manipulate it here. So if we scroll over, should be under C. Alright, so there's our field. If we go back, credit description, so we can see it coming up in the table browser. So that's a really quick example of adding a field as a table extension. So the original table remains as itself. We can package our assembly, which is the extension, on its own, and therefore